You have the wrong number. You've called me 4 times.
Well, is Judy there? Judy should be there.
There's no Judy here. This is the wrong number. You've called me 4 times.
Well, Judy should be there. I called Judy 20 times. Judy called
Not at
from
this
there.
number, you
Where's
didn't.
Judy?
Stop calling me. Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Judy.
You know you can block him.
Yeah, I will.
It's me again, Judy.
Don't really know him, and so I've been asking people before I read this, what's your opinion? What do you know about him? And nobody knows shit. It's weird. Like, not nobody. I've interviewed Decaro and James Hodge, and Hodge was basically like, he's an evil billionaire. So that seems to be the general. Everybody agrees he's a evil billionaire. Which I
think he's one of the better billionaires.
Okay, so what do you know about Musk?
I think he genuinely cares about humanity and the future of humanity.
Right.
I think he understands the importance of freedom of speech, and the problems with corporate power. You can see it kind of in the way he runs his businesses, because his public companies like Tesla, Tesla, and then when he had PayPal and companies that are public that you don't have, he can only do so much. But then on his private companies like X, where he's big on free speech, or with SpaceX, which is still a private company, he does things that aren't. He does things with those companies that you couldn't do if it were a publicly traded company.
Why?
Well, because in a publicly traded company, your loyalty as a CEO has to be to your board and your shareholders, and to the company itself. And a corporation's purpose is to make money. And if you make a decision that's not in the best interest of that company making more profit, then that company should eject you. That's how it's supposed to work. That's one of the.
That's the big. To me, that's one of. I'm not an economist. I don't have the really brain power or research to even back this. But I feel like that's what's wrong.
It is. That's the paradox. That's the paradox we're in. Is these corporations are so powerful now.
But it's not the yes.
That they manipulate the laws to benefit their ability to make profit.
They'd be dumb not to if that's the model. Right?
Well, yeah. But the problem is our politicians have allowed these powerful corporations to corrupt them through incentives. So there's nobody's driving the machine. The machine is consuming all the resources and driving itself, and no one is controlling it. It's out of control. All these giant corporations are out of control. And then you have companies like BlackRock and Vanguard who have found a way to skirt the monopoly laws, and they just own everything.
Right.
And so it's like, one company can't own everything, but one company that's a capital investment firm can own everything.
So are they just using the model sort of that Rockefeller used when they broke up Rockefeller Oil, and then they made him richer because he did the same thing. He started Standard Oil. He started all the other oil companies, and it made him more money. Because
companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, they're capital investment firms, so they just own pieces of everything. Literally, they own all the media companies, the pharmaceutical companies, military industrial companies.
So would that mean that I, as a worker, like if I work for a corporation, and I'm putting my money into the 401k and so now I'm also sort of a stockholder in this company that I work for, does it benefit me to then cut my benefits because now I'm getting more of a share of profits? You know what I'm saying? Because if I have 1,000 employees and they're also investing in my company, and my job as the CEO is to make the company money, one of the ways I'm going to make the most money for my investors is to cut costs, fire people, cut wages, you know what I'm saying? So are we, by investing in the stock market with our pay and stuff, cutting our own throats? Does that make sense?
I mean, not necessarily. Most of the employees that invest they're not significant investors. It's the large shareholders, the ones that actually have significant amounts of interest in the company that have a say so. The ones that make it to the board.
But if my retirement is tied to my 401k, then I want that 401k to make me money, and that 401k is invested in the companies that are paying out profit to those, right?
That's what you're going to do, but it's just because it's the best option you have.
I don't think that's what I mean. I don't think it is. I think people we've been perhaps not paying attention to that. We're like the evil corporations. Meanwhile, we're also doing the same thing because it's the system itself. We're also doing the same thing. By
that's
being
true.
Like, I'm invested in my greed paying me more.
That's why you need to.
Greed is part of what's cutting your jobs and your
people need
benefits
to. I think people should pay a lot of attention to the things they're told not to pay attention to. And if there's something you're not supposed to discuss or talk about or have an issue with, that's probably the thing that's being protected by power. And if you want to fix society, you have to go against power. And that's always been that way. That's
right.
And so I think if you want to make a difference in society, our system is corrupt. Both of our parties are corrupt. We have this polarized duopoly that controls everything.
Duopoly.
That's what it is.
I've never heard of that.
And it controls everything. And
Don'topoly.
And Republican, Democrat, they're the same thing. They're both politicians that are controlled by corporations.
It's not the same. Okay, they're the same thing. Yes, and I agree. I do agree. But that brings me back to my other thing today. Driving in here today, listening to a story on NPR about Matthew Shepard. It's like the 25-year anniversary of when those guys beat the shit out of him, hung him on a fence post or whatever they did to that kid. You know who I'm talking about? Matthew Shepard, he was the gay guy that was in like Idaho or somewhere that at college, and a group of guys picked him up at a bar and then drove him out and like literally put him on a fence post on a fence post or whatever to a farm or something, and they beat the shit out of him. They killed him and they murdered him and put him on the thing,
Wow. Yeah.
And it was a big deal. Like there was a huge
I know the name, yeah.
But it just reminds me that like the mom was talking today about when they went to his memorial service. Like at the time, she was riding with her baby and turning the corner to go to the place. All the protesters that were out with their signs and with the pictures of her son protesting that they were having a funeral for him or whatever, and they're God hates fags type people and like a big and it just reminded me these are the same people. These are the same people that were in January 6th, the same mentality that these people have been, and they keep pretending that like they're good people and they have the moral high ground, and they've been doing this shit for most of my life, for at least most of the 2000s, right? And all the way back to the 80s. My whole life, they've been on the wrong side of shitty person and wrong. They've taken stands against gay people being married. They've taken stands against gay people existing. And they're still doing that. And they still keep thinking, they keep saying the liberals and the we're the same, and they're also shitty. Maybe, but they've been continually wrong about every issue my entire life. And they still think that we're the liberals are the dumb ones, and it's fucking insane. And they've done so much shitty things, from holding up signs like that just because a guy was gay, as the mom is going to bury him after he was murdered just for being a gay. They've been these same people for fucking ever. That were against integration. They're the same ones suppressing votes now. They're the same, and they keep being said as like they're just the other side. No, they're fucking terrible human beings.
That's not true though.
It is true.
It's not true. That's part of the issue, because if you the way we solve these problems is through independent voting, independent thinking. And being individuals and working together as a society. It's power doesn't care about the people. Power cares about power.
Okay.
And like all the wars that we see today, they're all about controlling resources and having power over certain territories or certain market shares. They have no interest in helping people or making people's lives better. It's all about bringing more power to power. And when you're talking about political issues or not Democrats, Republicans, but conservatives and liberals, you're talking about just two different types of people that are both equally important in society but think in very different ways and need to work together. Most conservative people don't care about people being homosexual or these types of issues. It's just you're going to see.
I don't agree with
You're
that.
going to see the left
Maybe
is
they don't now. Maybe they don't now, but they have, dude.
Sure,
They've sat
yeah,
there at their own
but-
Thanksgiving tables and been like, Uncle Donald's going to hell.
But
You know, they have
focused.
drunken-
You're focusing on one thing that you've been shown to focus on because you are
Okay, it's not just
you're,
one thing.
You come from
It was race. It was emptying the mental health hospitals and creating the homeless situation. It's fucking it's guns. They're wrong about everything, dude, over and over and over.
But
One
you're
side
not
is
you're
dumb
not you're
fuckers.
not looking at it the right way, and you're incorrect
Maybe.
when you say that because conservative people just don't they're not as open as liberal-minded people. They're not as open to change.
And to facts, and
They're-
to science, and to
No, there's plenty of very intelligent conservatives. There's a lot of very intelligent liberals.
I was talking about him the other day. That's even more frustrating. Is how smart people are, yet because of their power, they're just dumb. Like
if you
the
step
people
a-
the people that told me in my lifetime, like. When you're like, hey, we could do a hydrogen economy, we could do electric cars, we could do these things to help the environment. These are the same people. They're very smart. They're very well informed. But they'll say they have all this proof of how no, the science is wrong about the environment. No, we can't invent electric cars. It's more expensive. They won't make sense. They'll only go 30 miles. They're just these constant like. We can't fly. Stop it, fucking Wright brothers.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
here's the problem though is it's not those people. It's you have two polarizing sources of power that in a lot of ways work together, and a lot of them serve the same corporations.
Okay.
And it's good for them to divide people. It's good for them to divide us as much as possible. Every single thing about you is highlighted and is. And we're all taught that these things separate us and make us different, and we should, embrace these things over other people's differences and stuff like that. And we shouldn't. We should actually embrace all of our differences and work together. And so when you're dealing with conservative-minded people, you're dealing with people that aren't as open to change. They're not as creative. They're not as they're a little more. They're more rigid and more analytical and structured, and we need those people. Liberal people are more open and more
evolutionary. Yes, we need. The split in human thought is.
Let me finish this idea.
Yes, it's always been that way.
Liberal people are more open and creative and more open to change and
I hate change.
and more about discovering other possibilities. Well, you probably have some conservative traits.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm in the middle. I'm a true independent, and even the personality tests and stuff I've taken throughout my life have always shown that. Like
Why have you been taking personality tests?
well, for school, when I was in school and stuff, and also for business.
Did you ever take personality tests, Seth?
Personality test?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that's pretty common. But I always
I don't think I've
scored
ever taken
right.
a personality test.
Yeah, it was like, I forget. It was like, it's the ones that's like INFP or ENF whatever, right?
There's a few of them. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is.
Well, you should look into it, dude. It's free.
So, but I can think both ways. I can be very liberal in my thinking. I can be very conservative in my thinking. I understand both processes of thought, and I have friends that are both of those things.
Right.
And it shouldn't be a Democrat Republican team thing. You need both ways of thinking in society because that's how you solve problems. And the reason we're not solving problems is because we're so divided through these issues, and these issues are magnified depending on which spectrum you sit in. It affects the way you perceive how those other people think or what those other people actually think, and that's where the division happens. And both people are manipulated by power. If you're liberal, then people have power that know how to manipulate people on the liberal side. They know the things that trigger you and make you feel a certain way about certain issues. And it happens the exact same with the other side. I know people on both sides that have the exact same arguments. It's like you guys are in a mirror of each other. It's like you're the exact same thing, saying the exact same giving the exact same complaints.
Oh yeah, because they're over here saying these people have been fighting for these people have been wrong for years. They've been fighting for equal rights and helping the environment and how everybody should be.
Well, no, they
equal.
don't feel that way.
And they're
They
really like these fuckers.
they
are
feel
so
like
wrong about that.
they're
making me have a different bathroom than I want, or like they
at
hate
the
that.
at the end of
care about things like the water and the air and the.
you have to. It's not they don't care about that.
They
Actually,
don't care.
conservative people do care because they're conservative. If you think about conservatism,
They care
it's
about
really
themselves
about
first.
conserving. And so conservatives do care about the environment and about life and productivity. At the end of the day, both people, no matter on both sides, left or right, both want the same thing. They want to be healthy. They want to have a decent life. They want to have their family in a good situation. They want their family to be fed. They care. For the most part, most people are fairly compassionate people, and they want a better society. They're just indoctrinated in different ways to manipulate the way they think, based on the way they think. And so what you really need is you need liberals and conservatives working together to solve these problems. If you step back, we all want the same stuff. And that's why we need to vote for independent leadership and people that aren't controlled by the establishment, because the establishment is corrupt and it keeps dividing people.
I keep saying this, but I keep saying this over and over. It all comes down to how elections are funded.
And you got to think too.
Until they change that, the system is going to be what it is.
Well, the positive is that independent media, independent journalists are doing better than corporate media and corporate journalism, because corporate journalism is just propaganda. Because they're corporations, they're going to do what's best for power.
Yeah, of course.
And so.
So do you? I was making this argument about
even RFK. He's like, I like RFK as a candidate. He's an independent. He's an independent, a true independent, and he really seems to care about humanity and society. And he's not. He's an anti-power guy.
Right.
And he has resources.
They hate him.
They hate him. Both parties hate him, and that's who you want. You want the guy that's pushing back against power. And his uncle got killed for the same thing. You know, and 50 years ago they would have killed him.
Kicked him out of that family. They're like, he doesn't represent us.
Well, there's a lot of people in his family that are part of that power problem too.
Yes, but
You know,
so my argument with James was like he has too much money, blah blah blah, and I was like, maybe that's our hope, is that somebody like, I don't know if Elon is this guy, you know what I'm saying? But like he could affect how wars are fought by saying, in the future especially, he can be like, no, you can't use my satellites. He could stop. He could be in a place, it's like somebody could get so in such a place of power, technology-wise and money-wise, that they could affect governments and affect.
Well, they do, and he does for sure. He has a lot of power.
So are you? Everybody I've talked to is somehow not a fan.
So
are you not a fan, or you are a fan of him?
I'm a fan of him in a lot of aspects, because I admire him as an entrepreneur and an innovator and just an idea person. He's a very creative thinker, and he's done some incredible things that will benefit humanity.
Like what?
I mean, the reason we have so many electric vehicle options today is because of him.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason that we have
That's what I mean.
this capabilities in space travel is because of him. So he's a very important figure in our society today, and I think we'll look back in history in the future, and he'll be someone that is like a Da Vinci or what's his name,
Einstein.
like an Einstein, or just these brilliant thinkers throughout time. We were just talking earlier about he painted the Mona Lisa.
Oh, Da Vinci.
Yeah, Da Vinci. Yeah. So he'll be like a Da Vinci he's like a Da Vinci of our time, and he gets a lot of resistance because he does push against power. But also, he does things I don't like. He has Asperger's, so he's a little difficult to relate to. Like people, it's difficult for some people to relate to him, and
Right.
And he says things. He's also a little bit of a troll, so he likes
kind of an edgelord. Yeah,
he likes to dig in a little bit and stir the pot. And I don't think that he should do that. I think that's it's unfortunate that he does those things, because when you have that level of influence and power, I think you have a level of responsibility that exceeds that type of behavior. And so I think he's irresponsible sometimes in the way he behaves. And even some of the things he says, like he just recently made a comment on Twitter about he's always voted Democrat in the past because he felt like that was the party that actually cared about people.
Right.
And so now he's going to vote for Republicans because he feels like the Democrats or the left is a party of hate. And there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, but also
I got right there. You could feel the hate within me rising.
But also
the
the
dark side coming out as I was like, "Fuck them!" and they killed Matthew Shepard, and they were happy about it. You know, what I mean? Like,
and then the Republican Party is the same though. That's where he's wrong. And then when I see that, I'm like, well, he knows that too. Why is he doing this? Why is he trolling people like this? Because he could just say, I'm just going to be an independent, and I'm going to find the person that's anti-power, and I'm going to support that person. And that's, if I were in that position, that's what I would do. And so I think that's problematic, and that's, I don't like that. So there's a lot of things I disagree with him on too. But I think overall, though, he has great ideas, and I think he's a very important figure in our society. And I think he really does care about the benefit of humanity and the future of humanity. I think he wants people to have a better situation. And so I think in the future we'll look back and history will be positive about him.
yeah, I'm looking forward to reading because, like I said, like the Steve Jobs one sort of changed my opinion of Steve Jobs, or made me realize, I don't really know anything about this guy.
Yeah.
And what drives his mind, and what he's accomplished, and what he was trying to accomplish, and how he affected the people around. So
let me get this real quick. I'm not sure.
Huh?
Hey, let me get this real fast. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Keep calling me.
You got business
Hello?
people going on.
Yes. You have the wrong number. You've called me 4 times. There's no Judy here. This is the wrong number. You've called me 4 times. Not at this number, you didn't. Stop calling me. Thank you.
You can block him.
Yeah, I will.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That number's called me 4 times in a row.
I know you were like, sorry, I got to get this. Like, why? Like you don't have spam calls on your phone where you're like, okay, this isn't somebody I want to talk to, and you just
That sounded
block
like
the
a real
caller?
person.
Huh?
It was a real person, yeah. But it was like a business. It was a business call, but it was a real person.
Was he leaving messages and stuff?
No, he didn't leave a message. It might be a scammer. but-
Why was he so aggressive? It sounded
Like
like.
that
don't
he's
know.
talked to Judy. You seemed to get like extra mad in that call. Like you were a little like, no, you've.
Yeah, he just lied to me. He's like, I know this is the right number. It's like, no, it's not, dude. Cut it out. Quit lying to me.
Yeah, she can't talk right now. My dick's in her mouth.
Oh, Judy gave someone a wrong number, maybe, to get away.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Dude, I can see why Judy gave you my number. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't want to
There
talk
it
to you
is.
either, apparently.
Dude, you should next maybe he'll call back and put him on speakerphone.
All right, yeah, I'll do
You
that.
did get a little through. Don't call me back. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that
if
was
you
the
were to say
thing,
that
it's
to me,
like-
I would say exactly what I said. Like, you have a block button. Like,
Yeah.
you could have stopped this.
It's irritating. Anyway, it was just annoying. Like,
Yes,
like
I
a
get it.
gnat. But anyway, yeah, I like Elon,
He
but
made all his money at PayPal, like, and then
well, he made it. I think he made like 180 million, maybe,
that's not very much.
when he sold it. That's a lot of money.
That's
dude.
180
It's
million
almost a
from
quarter of
just
$1 billion.
selling something?
Well, not compared.
And
to
this was back in
not compared to
the
what he has.
2000s when he sold it, early 2000s, I
For
believe.
180 million, you can't build Tesla. You can't build Tesla.
Well,
Yeah, but-
yeah, you could back then. I mean, that's 20 years ago. That was way more than today.
You find other
That was
guys,
like 300 or
like-minded guys.
400 million today.
Still, that's like
And he when he built Tesla, he went all in. Like he
He put everything in it,
put
right?
put it on the line. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So he risked ruining himself.
and Tesla cars pay off that much.
Well, if you do those cars, yeah, if you do that well with them. But he's a genius. He's a brilliant.
But he hasn't. But a
Entrepreneur.
lot of car companies have come along and they've gone out of business.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard industry. And that's another thing that's interesting about.
Because basically the car company said, nah, we're not doing that electric car thing.
Yeah.
Right? And then he was like, okay. Because they didn't even really have They didn't even really have divisions for it? I mean, I'm assuming they gave some sort of half-hearted effort to look into it, and they're like, no, we're sticking with gas, right? And then they sort of suppressed these other things?
Well,
Or
when you have
what was different about the way he went, no, I'm going to start this different type of car that you guys aren't even doing and won't do?
Well, I think the advantage he had was that, that infrastructure didn't exist. And he's great at figuring out how to do everything internally. Instead of outsourcing everything and then spending, it just makes the prices go up. He's great at figuring out efficient ways to do things all internally, and that's how he can have better prices too. So, like a auto manufacturer will use many different companies to produce all their parts and to build the vehicles, and so they already have that infrastructure in place. So for them to switch to something totally new, there's no incentive. And it's that corporate issue too. It's not, corporations aren't in the business of making people's lives better. They're in the business of making money.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense, like, yeah, maybe it's better to have electric cars, but we make gas cars and we can't spend the money to make electric cars. Until he did, and then he became a huge competitor and started hurting their bottom line, and then it makes sense for those corporations to make electric cars. They have to compete with him. So it's the problem with our corporate system. And I think capitalism's great in a lot of ways. It does create innovation and it gives us exponential growth of technology and all these positive things, but also if it's not regulated properly, it's a nightmare, and it eventually will absorb and consume everything.
I got the impression from watching another video on him on TikTok from the Friedman podcast, where he talks about, when you said regulating them, like that's part of, I think, he making him be because the regulations they've had to go through for, like,
Well, he likes regulation.
he does to a point, but he was talking about some of the stuff they've had to do, like.
Well, I think they mess with him a little bit because
they make him figure out. He was just showing a thing where they had to put headphones on a seal.
it was funny. Yeah,
to
I saw it
see
too.
how they reacted to sonic booms. And he's
Yeah.
like, there's so much regulation that you don't even think about. Like, is our booster going to land in the ocean and kill a dolphin? We got to figure out what are the odds of that.
Well, they can't kill him, so they can make him jump through some crazy hoops. Yeah, and I think that's part of that. But it's also part of the problem of bureaucracy. There's things in bureaucracies that don't make sense because you have a lot of people that, maybe have jobs just to fill in space.
So, but if the corporations are running things, aren't they getting rid of that stuff, or are they then using that to put things on to make it life harder for him? Like, who's really?
Well, those systems work together in a lot of ways because corporations are bureaucracies too. They're just a different type of bureaucracy. So the establishment wants the corporations distribute money. And so the establishment will create divisions that can absorb more money from the corporations. And the corporations need the establishment to make the laws or to help them manipulate the laws to help benefit them and help them make more money. So it's like, we'll help you make more money, but you got to pay us more money too. And so they're working together, and it's killing us as a society. Right. They're squeezing the shit out of the people in the society. That's why you're paying $8 a jar for peanut butter. And so I think you need monopoly laws. And what I would like to see is a different corporate structure, whereas a corporation, when it reaches a certain size and it becomes public, it starts to divide up into multiple companies. And so you'd have a company like Apple, and each division within Apple would be a separate company owned by those employees within that company. And then, sure, they can pay a percentage of their profits to the mother company, to the main.
It's like the mob
entity. Well, it's just like more like a franchise. And you would have better products. You'd have better products and better services. You have more diversity, and diversity is good. Period. In people, in companies, in life, the more diversity you have, the better these things are, the better the result. Even in people, like in human beings, the more diverse we are, the better our health is, the better our bodies operate and function, because you need to keep mixing up the genes. You need to have diversity, and even with ideas. Like a lot of our issues in society are because we're not mixing our ideas.
I think that's one of the things that, like, we're going back to Jobs, one of the things he did was, like, the way he put people together from different creative departments, so there was less separation
Yeah.
within his companies. And then
Microsoft does it too.
Once they started, having these meeting spots where they would all sort of mix, that created more. That generated more creativity. So he
Yeah,
did that.
creative shouldn't hate sales, and
Right.
like
Yeah,
sales
so
shouldn't hate. Like these should all
Yeah.
like each other.
Yeah, so he figured that he did that with Apple, and then they stopped doing it as much when he left, and then he did it
Yeah.
with Pixar, and it's what the corporations don't seem to get about creativity,
Well, they are understanding it.
now, I
Because
guess.
like you look at companies like Microsoft and maybe even Google, but I know Microsoft for sure. They have a corporate structure where every time they create a new division, that new division is like its own company, basically.
How do you retain all the information that you read and stuff to always have this stuff at your fingertips?
I am just really curious. I think
Right.
that's
That's what
And
drives
you
all the
keep
people
reading,
he
too.
does these biographies about.
yeah. I'm just curious. I'm curious, and I like to chunk information together,
Right.
and I like to absorb as much information as I can. And I really enjoy when I have chunks of information that merge and give me new ideas or help me understand how things work better. I just want to know how things work, and so that's why my curiosity drives that, and just the more I learn, the more I can put the pieces together and figure out how things function, and maybe try to figure out ways to make things function more efficiently. But I have I'm a CEO too, so that's for me, I have to understand how systems work and structures work. I think most comedians are really empathetic, very empathetic people, and I think
Right.
because they're artists, and most artists are highly empathetic. And I think when people get mad at comics, or just artists in general, you get mad at a comic or a musician or whatever because they say something that's offensive or something that really upsets you, don't get mad at the artist. If that thing upsets you and offends you, then maybe that thing is the problem, and that's why that artist is expressing that idea, because
Right.
it upsets them and offends them too.
Yes, and I want
'Cause,
to.
yeah, I want you to feel that.
I want you to. Yes, that's why it's a punchline. Sometimes it's supposed to hurt.
It
You know what I mean?
should.
It's like sometimes it's supposed to fuck it. Like what? Like, yes, I love that.
Because it's expression. If you don't like the expression, then fix the problem that's creating the expression. And that's we're mad at the wrong things, but we're encouraged to be by power because when we highlight these problems, it hurts power, and then power attacks us, and that's the way we need to think about things as a society. I think we are learning to think that way better, but it's still a big problem.
So could a person not that he's the guy, but could somebody come along, a Mark Cuban, like somebody that makes enough money or is in a position of power, like let's say like Musk, right? Could they end up being the balancing force that sort of stops that, like that stops some of these governments from being like that towards people because they have more power and they sort of.
Well, sure, they could definitely help, but they are, at the end of the day, if I was in Elon Musk's position, I was a billionaire, and I owned these big corporations, and I was the CEO of some of these companies. At the end of the day, I'm part of the problem too. And I'm a human being, so I'm still tempted by the same things that tempt these people. We all have this scarcity mentality. We all have greed. We're all corruptible, and sure, there's some of us are more empathetic. Like I know Elon sold a bunch of his properties and stuff, and he has a lot of conflicts over those issues for that reason, and I think it's harder to see it because of his autism. I think you can't. With autistic people, it's harder to see their emotions, but they are very emotional people. A lot, for the most part, and so I think he is a highly empathetic person. And I think those things sort of torture him. But at the end of the day, he is still part of the issue, part of the problem. And
Because James was saying after a certain point, we should be taxing, getting that money. But should we? Because if I agree that people have too much money, blah, blah, blah. But then the work he's doing is maybe feeding into a system that is broken.
I don't think
he doesn't want to support.
Yeah.
Should he be able to, instead of paying, let's say $500 million a year in taxes or whatever, could he then set up his own communities that energy fucking zero communities that are taking care of homeless and bringing into, could somebody do all that and spend their money on their own to do these sort of things that are altruistic for society and then not have to pay their taxes, or do they have to give it to the government and then the people decide what they want to do do that?
Well, I think if you're
could he do that on his own and then use that as a write-off to not pay his taxes and just make the world better? Could a Bezos or a Musk do that?
Well, I mean, they do that to a large extent. I mean, I would imagine that he invests most of his money back into business.
And then that, if you're doing that, that means you don't have to pay taxes.
Yes, sort of.
That's a little crazy, too, by the way.
Well, listen, the system is designed to benefit billionaires and corporations. And the biggest source of welfare in our society is corporations. Trillions of dollars of our money goes to corporations.
I mean, if I'm writing the laws, I should be able to do what I want with them.
I mean, a lot of people feel that way.
What?
And a lot of people feel that way. That's how power feels.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, power doesn't like to not be powerful, and they have the upper hand. You know, good luck fighting against the king. You know, so I think
could a generate like the new
somebody like
generation of
Musk can make a
plutocrats,
difference.
So if a Gates and a Jobs and a Musk and a Bezos come along, and now suddenly they're more powerful than the old power structure, could they team up and be like, all right, we're changing everything?
Well,
or do they get sucked into that system and their legs cut
they're
out from under?
they're still highly controlled by the system too. You know, the real powerful companies or a lot of all the companies are connected, you know, and you have sources of power like BlackRock and Vanguard they're more powerful than all the countries, even ours. Like if you take Vanguard and BlackRock together, they're like equivalent financially of the United States, just about.
It's weird because I don't really
not
again, I don't
completely,
really know much
but
about
close.
that.
I mean, they're like number 2 in the world probably, you know, in power. That's why China is. That's why China. If you do business in China, you have to be in business with China. That government understands the power of corporations, and they will not allow corporations to have more power than they have as a government. And that's not okay either. It's the same issue. It's just power in a different form. So I think the way you really solve it is there are more of us than them, and we have in the United States this experiment gives people a lot of power. Individuals have a lot of power. We're just being heavily manipulated by power. And so if we would actually vote for an independent person that is against power, we can slowly change this whole system. We have that ability.
I don't
and
really like slow change.
everybody is manipulable and corruptible with power. So like the way I would approach it is
Get rid of power.
Huh?
Can we just get rid of power?
Well,
That's
that's
anarchy,
actually
man.
how you want to do that. I think we should look at all sources of power.
By the way, that's how nonviolence works too. There isn't a central.
Yeah, you decentralize power.
You decentralize the power of a nonviolent force.
It's like anarchy.
And there's no yes.
But it's anarchy is not chaos.
So you can't cut the head off the snake because there's
no snake.
Yes, and
Yeah.
but they use that like in Occupy Wall Street. They use that as a reason not to give it any credibility.
Well,
this thing doesn't even have any direction, or there's nobody to. You can't get in. Like that was the complaint on the from like the Fox News of the world.
Yeah,
they
but
couldn't get those people on to talk to them because there wasn't like here's our guy.
Yeah,
that
but those
represents what we do.
movements like that are always controlled by something, and it's very difficult to find out what is driving that thing. And it's usually by some source of power. We're just constantly manipulated in so many ways. It's difficult to figure out what's manipulating us.
So
And
I
I think
I wonder that whole we're manipulated. Is that? I don't know. Sometimes,
You can figure it
sometimes
out.
that feels a little like.
It's
There's
like
a
there-
small group of people in a room and they're controlling it all like that.
I mean, it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Tom, when you said they are always wrong. Who's they?
Yeah.
it's going to be
Indeed. Who is they?
the
I'm
most
saying
powerful-
Kanye. Kanye probably knows.
the most powerful corporations and the most powerful people in the world control the world. Those organizations control the world.
and we don't know their names, right?
Well, you know, BlackRock, Vanguard, those types of companies, all these trillion-dollar companies control the world.
Well, but there's not one guy running that. Who's the Elon Musk of that company?
Well, these companies work together because they share the same interests. They have financial interests together, so they're not going to hurt each other. They're just going to work together. And then you know, our
what the
politicians are
Bilderberg
going to
group
serve
meetings and
those
stuff-
companies as they give them a lot of money.
Okay.
If you want to corrupt something, $1 trillion is a good place to start.
I think that would be an interesting television show, like a
Give someone $1 trillion.
like a Rockefellers, you know what I mean? It's like like whatever. You just somebody even bigger than that, like the people at Vanguard, like those families that their job is running the world, right? So it's like the Kardashians, instead of being in fashion and blah blah blah, their job is running the world and keeping their family quiet that we're running the world, right? And so that's the show, right? That's the power show.
You just described secession.
Except all they're really doing is controlling that one
Media.
network, right?
I think what we should
But yes,
try.
like that, but for like the whole thing.
Yeah. I
Like they're
think-
the ones meeting with the lizard people and blah,
Kendall
blah, you know what I mean?
Rothschild.
I think the solution to the power problem, and in the past, you know, especially when you've had societies that were socialistic or communist, they've always approached it as if they were decentralizing power, but really they centralized all the power and then just controlled the whole society, where I think you should empower the society and you should decentralize all the sources of power. You still need a cohesive society where things can work together. And I think it's fine to make as much money as you want to make. I think really we could, especially today, we have the technological ability to create a society where you can decentralize all these sources of power. You create monopoly laws to divide these companies up, where it doesn't ruin the companies. It just makes them more successful in a different way. And it makes the people within the companies more successful. And then it makes the society more successful. And then I don't think countries should be as big as they are. Like, I don't think the United States and China and Russia and these big, powerful companies or countries should be as big as they are. I think the United States should be multiple countries. It could be within a union, but it should be multiple countries that work together and decentralize the power and then share the resources. So as a
Has anybody had a system like that before?
no, well, I think we
Didn't
have
try that with the Articles of Confederation, basically.
Well, we have the ability to, I mean, that's kind of what the United States is supposed to be. It was supposed to be originally where the states have rights that supersede the federal government.
Right. That's what the Second Amendment is.
Part of it, yeah, because an armed society is
Well, it was
able to
it was
defend
mostly
itself.
About armed states, not armed individuals.
It's about armed individuals, 100%. It was about armed individuals in a society
It wasn't.
to protect themselves. Yes, it's always been about that. It's always been about don't allow a king to gain power over the people. If all the individuals in society have weapons and can defend themselves, they can all work together to prevent power from overthrowing or from controlling their lives.
Where in any of the writings on the Second Amendment?
There's a lot of it,
no,
man.
No. I'm
There's-
asking
yeah.
you specifically. Where are in any of the writings that led to in the debates they had and blah 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 about the Second Amendment, or the Second Amendment itself mentions individuals? Where does it do that?
It talks about a militia. That was individuals. A
A
militia
is not individuals.
It
It's
is- it
groups
is.
Yeah,
of
but I
people.
mean, it's
No,
made
it was
up of
always
individuals.
individuals.
Huh?
It was
It's
always
made up of
individuals.
individuals.
It's made up of
It's made up
individuals,
of
yes.
people from the community. It was supposed to be individuals. It's always been about
It's the
individual
com-
rights. The whole Constitution of the United States is designed to protect individual rights. It's all about.
I don't believe
It's
that
all
either.
about decentralizing of power. And it's not like that today. Our power is very centralized.
Of course it
Our
is.
federal government is very powerful. And I don't like weapons, period. I don't like guns or swords or any weapons. I don't like the idea of harming other human beings.
What's wrong with swords?
And we shouldn't want to harm other human beings, but as long as other human beings are willing to kill you, you should be armed and you should be able to protect yourself and defend yourself. And we act like it's crazy that that it's important for individuals in the society to have weapons, but it's not crazy because our society murders families by the thousands for money all the time.
Okay.
Constantly. We go to other countries and destroy families that are helpless, hopeless people
Right.
because it benefits somebody financially to do so. Those people in power don't give a shit about us or our lives. And if it benefits them to destroy your life, they'll destroy it without even thinking about it because they don't care. Because it's not about that, it's about power. And power controls people.
So, yes, but you're.
So yeah, I want a gun. I want guns.
But you're
I
doing
want
the
people
same,
to have
but
guns.
You're disconnected from your own ideas because.
No, I'm not.
But yes, you are because.
How?
I'm getting ready to tell you how. Because your whole thing is, I want to be armed, and then you're like, the power is what divides us and have us fighting amongst each other, and now we have our own individuals arm race of people arming themselves, uninformed people that are being manipulated.
Most people
now I'm in the crossfire of you being manipulated by one side and this guy being manipulated by one side, and now you're both armed
Any
and
society-
fucking shooting.
any society
you
that-
added to violence by embracing violence.
Well, no, you have to, as long as there are people that want to kill you, you have to defend yourself. We need a military. I don't like what our military does. I don't like the way our military is manipulated.
You're anti-military?
No, I'm pro-military.
Okay.
Our society needs defense
Right, okay.
because there are a lot of people in the world that would kill us all to have power over us.
Especially since we've killed their families.
Absolutely.
Right.
So as a soldier, from the perspective of a soldier is a human being who's willing to give up all their individual rights and freedoms and to sacrifice their own life to defend their country and their people.
And the cool thing
And
is,
they
a lot
can't-
of them have
they-
to do that because they don't have any of those things, and it's their last option.
But they can't. But a soldier, and look, well, take an elite soldier then. Take like a special forces soldier. That's someone that does have options. That's somebody that's usually highly intelligent and very capable, and an elite individual, athletically, intellectually, even empathetically in a lot of ways. That soldier cannot question their orders. They can't question their leadership because it won't work. They have to do exactly what they're told to do to the T and get the job done, no matter what it is, no matter how horrible it is. And that's the disgusting thing about the way our corrupt system manipulates and abuses our soldiers. Because those soldiers have to be able to do whatever their job is without thinking about it. It's like I
Do you
heard.
think that the sports that we watch, like the MMA, sort of football, all of them, would be another level of elite athlete if we got all these guys out of the military and got them into sports?
I mean, some of those guys would be good athletes for sure.
I wonder how if they're that level of elite that they would, if those resources, all those people were put into baseball, would we have better baseball? Would we have funner games? Would we have a better MMA structure if all those
For sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it would be probably the same. I think a lot of those athletes are the same type of people. I think you have, when you have, elite is elite. An elite athlete, an elite soldier, they're basically the same thing. They're just the highest level of whatever that is.
Do you think people would watch war? Like if they...
I think
if
maybe they should, because it would probably stop war, because war is horrible. If you've ever seen war, it's not...
Yeah.
It's damaging to your mind to see it. And
When the Civil War started, a couple of people went to go watch, and after the first one, nobody really went to go watch the other ones.
right.
I don't even like to watch the reenactments. This book I read many years ago, Richard Bach, it's book 1, where in it he talks about one of the realities that they go to in this book, is the war is a game now. Like there's not actual wars. They do, and they've.
Well, I think
all the military
sports
budgets of the country, they've turned it into a sport where it's like they have the air battles and everything, and it's a lot of like, it's almost like the airsoft fights, but basically it's with all the technology that they put into to actually making the weapons, like these companies that are still, they're still getting those budgets, but it's for profit.
Well, I had a bit about that, about like nerfing the world. Yeah, let's nerf the world. Let's just switch all the weapons to Nerf weapons, and we'll play Nerf games. We'll have Nerf wars, and we'll eventually get tired of it and realize like it's pointless.
Well, the cool thing about bullets and bombs in that scenario is cheaters. You can't. The cheaters,
Well, I think the wars.
there's nobody that's like, oh, he didn't get me, and then they keep fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, you get shot. You can't pretend you didn't.
Well, very soon there won't be wars like there are today. Very soon there will be wars with machines. There'll be robot wars, and whoever has the most powerful technology just win. And I think it'll just be like a stalemate.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a stalemate of war will be impossible because we'll just be able to if we go to war we'll just destroy everything. So we'll just hopefully we'll stop it. And I think I think if you want to stop crime, if you want to stop shootings and violence and crime, If you want to stop shootings and well, it's like nuclear power. If we go to nuclear war, we're done. Humanity's done. Humanity's maybe not done, but societies are done for thousands of years.
Yes.
You know, it's a reset. And so hopefully that doesn't happen, because that would destroy everything that we know.
Do you really think that there's a chance of that not happening?
I think there's a chance of it happening.
That's what I mean.
I think it's unlikely, because I think there's a lot of interest in it not happening. And even even to power, as much as they may hate something else that's challenging their power, they still want to stay in power and they still want to have things.
I want my own tactical nuke. Can I get that?
No. I don't, I'd like to see a future where we can decentralize power. And I think the way I would go about it is I would pay politicians more. I would try to decorrupt the system. I would
You just take them. You change the way elections are funded, and then that's over.
It's not just that. It's not
that's
just
the main thing. It is. Dude.
Well, you can't go that. You can't get ahead of yourself. You have to start at the bottom and work your way through it.
Why?
You have to work your way through this, because you have to get people in the system that think that way, and it's from the ground up. To decorrupt the system, it's a bottom up effort. It's not, the top's not going to change anything. That's where the power is. So you have to go from the ground up. And so I think you start at local politics and you go into, national politics, and we need to elect as the people. You start with the people, and we elect people that are independent and that are against power.
But you can't.
Yeah, we can.
Not until you change the way elections are funded.
Even RFK has a lot of support right now.
Yeah,
he has a good shot at winning this election.
Because you gain money by being on one extreme or the other.
But he's neither. He's neither. He's the guy that the whole system hates.
Right.
It's kind of like Trump, but Trump had a lot of money, so he was able to win. That's why he was able to. The system loved Trump until he's like, I want to play on your side a little bit. They're like, no, you got to stay on your side, dude. That you work on that side. This is how this thing works. We'll help you make more money. You give us money. You stay over there. We stay over here. We work together, and everything's cool. You start coming over here and you start telling people about what we're doing. It's fucking up the whole thing.
Right.
He's just such a narcissist. He doesn't care. He gets off on it. Like because he's a power guy. But you got a guy like RFK who's not a power guy. He actually cares about people in society, and he wants to stop power, and he wants to eliminate corruption, and so
I don't know that any of that's true. But yes.
Well, just listen to him.
Well,
his ideas are great. He has good ideas, and so you just need somebody like that who's not a part of the establishment, who pushes against power. You need to identify the people that resist power.
Those guys are going to be dead. That's how you knew Obama wasn't going to be.
It's hard to kill them today because everything's connected. It's not. They can't just assassinate you today like they could 50 years ago, because people can see it. It's so hard to do today. Otherwise, Elon Musk would probably be dead. A lot of people would be dead today if that was still easy to do. It's not that easy to do anymore.
Huh.
And if that starts happening, we're really fucked, because that means they just don't care. And if they're not worried about the publicity of it, then we really have a problem. But now we're so connected. You have independent journalists that they're not going to do what corporations tell them to do. They're going to tell you the truth. Their whole life is committed to researching and learning about information and how these systems work and exposing the truth to people. And
Give
so,
me a list of 3 or 4 of those guys, really
like
quick.
Matt Taibbi is a good one.
Okay, that's.
Who else? Who's a good journalist? I like Matt Taibbi. I like. What's his name with the gray zone?
Yeah, it's funny because I have an author too.
I like Crystal and
that.
Sagar.
Yeah.
I like those guys a lot. Breaking Points. I like the Hill. The Hill is still a corporation, but it's not as powerful. It's not as big, and they're pretty open, and their journalists are pretty free to talk about how they feel about things. I follow several. I can't think of them right off, but I follow. I'm bad with names. I have an
Same here.
issue
I'm
with
trying
names.
to think of the guy.
But I follow several independent.
Chris Hedges I like a lot.
Okay, yeah. So but there's a lot of independent journalists that have good platforms now, and they actually are doing better than corporate news, because corporate media is just corporations. They are corporations themselves. They make profit. They're just designed to make profit, and they're supported by other powerful corporations.
It's funny how short time ago that they weren't. Like 60 Minutes used to be such like a.
Well, I think it's always been.
I just watched the movie with with Pacino and the guy from Gladiator.
I think
where the guy from the cigarette industry exposes them, and it's like,
Oh.
and they did it like basically through 60 Minutes, and like the way they worked to build, and how much power a tiny few of those guys had, and it was based around their integrity of how they reported the news.
There was
And then
more of that.
That was where it was that was the era where it sort of got shattered and broken off, and now it's to where it is, really.
But
you
even
know,
then,
They were fighting it,
I
you know.
think it was just less transparent too. I think there's a lot of there was for sure a lot of propaganda when everything was just corporate media. It's just you didn't see it because you couldn't see it. It was impossible. It was all very tightly controlled. And the internet changed all that.
God, man,
You know-
this is like, no, I mean, this is stuff that's like, you can't even do. I mean, how much do you do any comedy on this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Because it's just such
It's so hard to talk.
Like even just talking about it now, I'm like, I'm just tired.
Yeah, I talk about some, but
Like,
it's
and
exhausting.
Even my mind isn't writing jokes. Like I'm not. There's no wordplay
Right,
I
it's
can
not-
go to. I'm
it's just
like,
sad.
"Ugh." Yeah, we
just
both
depressing.
have these ideas that we're like, here's
You're
how we change the world.
You're
Like,
scaring
Well, that's
me.
I was telling him about Owen, right, when he was little. I was going on to my wife about that's when I thought we've hit peak oil and we're gonna run out of oil and it's gonna be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always doomsday, and I'm talking, we gotta have this and this and this, and my son's in the other room playing with Legos. He's like 5, and I just hear this, "You're scaring me," and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know
And
what
my
you're
wife was
talking-
like, "You see, you crazy person," and I'm like, "He needs to know."
More intense.
So stupid. And I know I'm doing that right now too. That's my point. You know, like I've
It's important to do this though, and to have these
Yeah.
conversations.
somehow as I've gotten older, I just feel like what I think and how we got to change the world. I just feel it's unimportant. It's such a waste of
Well, I think-
energy sometimes. Like I still want that, but I'm also a little like, there's you know.
It's
I
a
can't-
battle, man. Battles
know?
are exhausting. It's
Yeah.
a fight, and it's a long one, and it's going to last surely longer than our lifetime, probably. AI may change that. I mean, artificial general intelligence will be here soon, and when we have a super intelligent being that is free to think on its own and has all of our information as just it's just an expression of all of our collective consciousnesses, that thing could change all of it and can make it all better. And
so great.
And if
So
if you
great.
if we can find a way to efficiently utilize all the resources that we have access to, truly efficiently use these resources where we're not constantly fighting to gain control of resources where we don't have to.
Right.
If we can have an abundant mentality and instead of a scarcity mentality, and we can eliminate poverty, we eliminate all these problems.
I feel like,
And I
it's
think
funny, I
we-
feel like
we can
that
do that.
happens on a cruise ship. I think about that sometimes, and I'm like, oh, the food is just free at all times.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Everybody's
fine.
cool, right?
Everybody's cool to each other. Even New Yorkers are saying hello to each other as they walk around. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, if you
You
live in a
make eye
nice neighborhood,
contact.
you're not worried about shit happening. Like your neighbor's going to attack you when you walk outside.
Yeah. Also, I know there's nobody's armed on a ship, so I also feel a little bit safer there. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
yeah, nobody's trying to kill each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But if there's
And
one guy on
part
the
of it
ship
is
that wanted
because-
to,
and it's part of it is because guys like me aren't allowed to say what they really think because then you don't get the gig. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah, the world's crazy, man, and you know, hopefully we can make it a better one.
I'm excited by that. I literally think that's humanity's only hope.
It is.
Is that, and we keep talking about when are the machines going to get conscious? I think it's like, when are we? Because I'm
right.
saying, like, as I get older, I'm less about like I got to do something to change the world. Like now
have
I'm
to do
more,
something.
Now I'm more like I got to do something to change this.
Yeah, it's internal.
And it's
for
all
of
that
us.
all that power that you're saying that we have and blah blah blah. And that way to see the world differently and to live differently
Yeah,
is in here. That's what I'm learning, you know.
Yeah.
And it comes back to like, and then like some of the people I read and the gurus of the world and the to me spiritual giants are they I think they connect with science, you know, in my research.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure, yeah.
So, but there's no Elon Musk that is like, there's no Elon Musk of the teaching us how to to see the world, to break through the matrix, so to speak. You know what I mean? They are the same thing of greed and blah 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 blah. Like there's no Gautama the Buddha that has billions of dollars and he's like, this is how we're going to change everything. You know
Well,
what I mean?
we are those people.
Yes.
And they're us, and we all have to. It is about a higher consciousness. It's about more
That's what
self-awareness,
and
more
so that's what
introspection.
That's sort of where my focus is going now as I get older, and especially in the last few. I did it a lot too in my 20s, but now I recognize some of the stuff that I was reading and being like, oh, I'm going to do that. I didn't, because my motivation was still to learn this stuff so that I can achieve this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I want to learn this so that I can teach other people. It's so ego-driven and selfish.
Yeah.
And now I want to get to more where I'm learning it, and then I shut up about it. It's not my job to tell you like what I've figured out or where I'm going.
You just share your ideas. You express your ideas.
So I feel more peaceful in myself because of that.
Yeah.
But I'm still convinced, and that's my own training in my own mind, that participating in violence and these things create more and more of it.
Well, when we make
it's funny to watch
decisions,
like Israel and Palestine right now. Like this is for some of the stuff that legit kept me out of festivals and blah 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 was some of the material that I would do on Israel and Palestine. I'd be like, hey, maybe we should be looking at both sides. You know what I mean? And now it really is flipped. And now I'm even to be like where I listen to people, even like my son, or I watch people on the internet talking about being pro Hamas, and I'm getting a little bit like, whoa, wait a minute. Israel has a side of this story, you know what I mean? Like Hamas is a fucking group of terrible humans.
Yeah, you got to be pro-human. You got to be pro-human, and then and yeah, sure. If Hamas is
but they've more Israel even doing the right thing, and now they've lost they have no moral high ground.
No, because they're attacking innocent people.
And not just overwhelming force. This is why. And Hamas is.
That's what that behavior is what creates Hamas, and so
yes.
if you kill innocent people, they're gonna hate you, and they're gonna become monsters. Their children, their family members, they're gonna want to kill you, and understandably so. The way we have to look at these issues and conflicts like this is you say, okay, you've got a society that's highly impoverished, that's pretty helpless in a lot of ways. And so if I wanted to, if I were Israel, and I wanted to fix that situation, I would invest into the Palestinians. I would invest into that society.
Yeah, I thought that. Why don't we spend $1 billion bombing people with food and aid and education and then how?
And even Elon Musk said that too in an interview.
That's not like going back to him. Could somebody like an Elon Musk would come along where with like a thing like Starlink and all and you're saying like when the wars are going to get more and more into like where it's the robots and the technology and the AI is going to be doing the thing, could someone like him be like, okay, I'm shutting it down, you guys can't use it?
Well, yeah,
is that too much power for a guy to have, or is that
he could? But they can also take it.
Somebody like that's going to stop these things because they can now. They can be like, all right, you can't use Starlink, you can't use.
But they can also take it from him too. They could take it if they want it. These are powerful entities. But I think if you want to fix it, I'm pro humans, pro human beings, and when
have you met them?
And when I look at
humans are pretty shitty.
When I look at a conflict like that, I would say, yeah, if you want to go after these people that did this atrocity, fine, but you can't. The first decision should be is this action going to harm an innocent human being? If it's going to harm one innocent human being, it's not worth it.
Okay.
Because if that innocent human being is your child, is that worth it? Is anything worth you killing or letting your child be killed to get this person? It makes no sense. Like if a school shooter's in a school shooting up a school, you don't blow up the school to get the shooter. No, you do everything you could do to protect those children and those innocent people in that school and stop the problem. It's about power and control.
Could you make the argument though that like one of the ways to do it is to do like we used to, like one of the reasons we turned around Japan is we went in and fucked that place up and then we were like, okay, now we'll rebuild from here, as opposed to like going into Iraq and kind of winning a battle here, winning a battle, and now you leave a mess. Is there an argument to me? Because I have people.
I think there's a lot of money in leaving. I think there's a lot of financial interest in leaving a mess because it creates future messes that are very profitable.
Okay, and that's true, but.
Yeah.
So would it be more,
even World War II wouldn't have probably happened if we would have stayed out of World War I.
Oh, yeah, or if we would have used less reparations on people.
And also, technologically, the world was different back then. Today, we have much more ability to be peaceful than we did back then. The conflicts were totally different.
Made for, all right, you guys support this, we're fucking up everybody, and then you're gone, and now we don't have to deal with you at all. Now we start, and then now we'll start over, and okay, we did terrible things, but you know what? We're ending this.
That's never the right thing, and I think that the karma that comes with that lasts for a long time, for many generations. So I think you fix these problems incrementally, and you say, okay, look, you guys are in a shitty situation. We've killed a lot of your people in the past. We know you're mad. Let's fix it. We can't change the past.
Right.
But let's figure out how to invest in your society and help you. If you're feeding people and helping people, they'll forgive you.
Yeah, well, that's what Hamas does. That's why the people are fine with it, because they're
manipulating them with food.
They are manipulating.
Yeah.
But
if you do it,
I feel like there's a disconnect between what you're saying, like these things that you believe. And
there's a lot of religious problems there too.
No, I mean, I'm saying for you specifically in this conversation, I think there's a disconnect between some of the stuff you're saying of like, this is what we need. These things we do end up accumulating into creating this problem. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
The violence you're committing here and here and here and here ends up contributing to this, to where we are with violence. So the same thing can be said in my mind. You bring that parallel all the way down to individuals owning guns. You're creating these steps that add to violence, to add to violence, to add to violence. To then you're at a point where you're like, hey, we got to stop this. But
if you take away the power from the individuals will lose all the power, and power will control the individuals. You will have no power. You'll have no ability to make any decision.
Because I don't have a gun?
Yeah.
It's
unfortunate.
I don't buy that.
It's unfortunate. People are...
Why?
Because sociopaths will kill you. Because sociopaths will kill thousands or millions of people at their interest. Yes. There's got to be some balance to stop that power. And as long as power is controlled by force, you have to have a way to counteract that force.
By contributing to more force and more power?
No, by trying to create a stalemate. It's how we use nuclear weapons globally. There's no global government that controls everything. There's no global connection of people that say, hey, we can't fight each other. So we're always trying to have the upper hand, because if we don't, someone will take us out, and they'll take over. And as long as we're controlled by psychopaths, that's what's going to happen, and that's just the way the system works. And maybe we'll get better. We have statistically gotten better, but even as we get better, there's blips, and those blips can be millions of lives. And we are way less violent today than we were a few hundred years ago. And the hope is that we keep becoming less violent. We keep eliminating poverty, and eventually we do reach some equilibrium where we have a higher consciousness, where we say we don't need weapons anymore. Why would we have weapons? Why are we building weapons? Like, we need to build things to prevent asteroids from hitting the Earth, or we need to create ways to make to have more food.
Right. I'm making the argument that you're.
But we have to get there. We're not to.
I know we're not there yet, but we're not. I'm making the argument that we're not going to get there by continuing to contribute to it.
Well, every time we kill each other, it makes it sets us back.
That's what I'm saying.
But
dude.
we kill each other less, and that's less of a setback. We're still moving in that right direction. I want to be where you want to be. But there's a lot of people that don't want us to be there.
I'm not. Yes,
and those people want to take your guns away so they can control you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with like this argument of like we need to be able to. I think armed people.
How are military and police different than us?
I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that when you start to use weapons.
If you can eliminate all weapons, yeah. But you
It's
can't.
not- no, but you're not letting me say what I want to say.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to resist violently at all, you're giving the governments the okay to do things like what Israel's doing.
Well, what's the government though? They're just people. They're just us.
Okay.
We're like we're manipulated so strongly that like we
just feel
think
like you
they're
talk in
different than we
circles and
are,
don't
but they're
have to-
not different than us. They're not. They are us.
Okay.
They're
Well,
just
so unarm
corrupted
us
versions
then,
of
and then
us.
They're not armed.
Huh?
So then unarm us and quit giving everybody guns. If they're us, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying.
But they have power. It's about who has the power. You can't. How about take all the guns from the people who have the power? How about if you have a certain level of power, you can't have
You
guns?
just said we're them. I'm not against that. But what I'm saying
I
is,
think
but
there
what I'm
should
saying
be
is,
no
if
weapons.
I'm
period.
saying,
But we're not there.
Just like with Hamas going in and killing 2,000 people, it gave Israel sort of the right and the idea to be like, okay, now that makes it okay for us to destroy everything. And whereas where nonviolence wasn't working for the Palestinians and hasn't been, so that maybe they have to do shit like that, and there's buildup, but. If you don't do that, they cannot have any of the sort of moral high to be able to then use that overwhelming force. I think it makes the governments more powerful, gives them more leeway to use force against the individuals in the country if those people are armed and using those arms against them. As soon as you do,
Well, that's a
you
different
give them
society
the okay
too.
for the police to then come in and fuck
Yeah,
everybody
there's
up,
some of that
you know?
for sure. We create a lot of that. That's
Yes.
how we start a lot of these wars. But that's a different dynamic too than our society here. Very different dynamic.
Now it
But
is.
yeah, I want to see a world where there's no weapons. Period. But we have to get to that, and you have to decentralize and decorrupt power.
Yeah, and you might be right. I just think that like
You need-
you're saying we need to have a society of unarmed people.
Hey, look.
And then you're like, I think everybody should have a gun. Those are two, like the path
There are two
to-
opposing views.
Yes, the
and
path
and
to-
that's
but the
why.
path- but you're not leaving for the option of the path to. There not being a path to peace that isn't through peace.
Well, here's how you fix that, though. And this is a good example, man. This is a great example of why I say it's very important to have these different perspectives working together, because you and I both feel strongly about what we feel for good reasons, both of us.
Right.
As I understand where you're coming from, too, and I agree with you. But I understand where I'm coming from, and I agree with me.
Right.
So-
I agree. Once shit starts going sideways, I would love to have a gun in my house to be like, all right, I'm protecting my wife and my family. But I think I'd rather have drones that pop out of the
So
fucking
here's
roof
how that works.
and fly around and kill people.
If we work together, then we say, okay, we can't agree on this thing. This issue we have to wait on this thing because we can't agree on it because we both have different perspectives for good reasons. What we can't agree on is people shouldn't be starving. So let's feed people.
Right.
And we start to solve those problems that are creating these other problems. And then you create a society where you don't have to have power, where power is meaningless. Where power is in just being a cohesive society. And so I think that's how you solve these problems. You eliminate the things that are really creating the problems. And we're poor stewards of our resources. And we lack empathy towards other human beings. And if we start to solve these problems, we start to heal our society, and we start to raise our consciousness, then we can reach a level where we don't have a debate about weapons because we don't need them.
Right.
And that's how you fix the problem. But we have to work together. You have to have opposing perspectives working together.
Let's start working together.
Let's do it.